Let's see here. Is overconfident, no one understands it. It feels like being back in the 90s with no internet. Yeah, it's just, there's just too much stuff happening on the screen. Too many things happening constantly. Okay. Give me 1 second. Okay. You're playing the game in droves. People defend it for God knows what reason. Well, I think really it's also that like people defend it for reasons that like an average player doesn't even really understand. It's like an average player is like not going to get to red maps and realize that the fucking, you know, it's like it's hard to play against the Arc Nemesis modifiers or something like that, right? I mean, like who the fuck even knows what that is? Like that's something that like serious players know about. Okay, here we go. So this came out like a few hours ago. I was gonna watch this and see kind of what's going on here. Blizzard's been putting out these videos and I'm like, okay, this is kind of interesting. Give me actually 1 second. Let me do this real quick because I'm actually on the wrong account. Okay, and all right, we should be good now. Okay. All right, we're fine. And let's see here. So this is the video that was made by Warcraft. Actually made this themselves, and I'm gonna watch this. Obviously, I think tomorrow, like you're able to make Death Knights tomorrow, right? For Wrath of the Lich King, I'm pretty sure you can. That's my understanding. Yeah, you can. Preach has a new video about the Dragonflight in-game. Well, remind me about that after this, and I'll watch that then. How long is this video? It's only 8 minutes. So this is about making Death Knights in WoW. I always thought Death Knights... I wish that you were able to do, like, more ranged abilities as a Death Knight, but other than that, I mean, like, back then, I mean... but back... I mean, overall, I think, you know, Death Knights were really cool back in Wrath of the Lich King. Here we go. Video's good. I watched it today. All right, let's take a look.
Hi, I'm Tom Chilton.
And I'm Chris Deerhut.
We're here to talk to you about
Death Knights!
Is the volume good and everything?
You know, going all the way back to some of the earliest rumblings of the community talking about how there might be a character class in Wrath of the Lich King. And a lot of that came from our decision with Burning Crusade to not have a character class, right? We wanted to make sure that we weren't going to flood the game with classes that would then water everything down. And so we had that strategic choice that we made with the first expansion to sort of set the table that there might not be a class with every expansion, since we knew we kind of had to space them out.
Yeah.
But by the time we got to Wrath of the Lich King, we sort of knew this was the time to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, also, like, Death Knights in particular, you know, being...
I was kind of surprised because, like, so Death Knights, it was a weird thing because, you know, Horde had the first Death Knights, and the reason why the Dark Portal has the Death Knights on the sides of the portal is to, like, symbolize the Horde's dominance over death. Like, that's the whole reason why they're next to the Dark Portal. So... like, I was actually kind of surprised whenever Death Knights weren't like... because in Warcraft 2, you had Paladins for Alliance and Death Knights for Horde. And they used kind of like mirrored abilities for each other. But that's not what happened. And I think then it became a little bit different after Arthas became the Lich King. But yeah, Death Knights used to be a Horde-only thing.
So iconic to the lore, being so iconic to everything about Northrend.
Yeah.
Kind of seems like Death Knights have
Now,
to be...
it's now or never.
Yeah.
Right? And
It has to happen.
so much of Wrath of the Lich King was about Arthas and his story.
Yeah.
So Death Knights just
being centerpiece to that. It's centered with Arthas to better tell his story. They were the perfect class at the perfect time.
Yep. And interestingly, remember we had that Rune Master class, right?
It was the potential 10th class that had been tinkered with before WoW ever came out. And we pulled some of their ideas about runes. They went into the rune blade, went to the runes on the ground, like anti-magic zone, anti-magic shell, used some of those rune type effects. So we drew from them. We drew from the Death Knight unit in Warcraft 3, like Death Coil and their unholy aura.
Yeah, it's like in my mind, Death Knights were always on a horse. Like maybe this is like weird, but like in Warcraft 2, they were a mounted unit. And like in Warcraft 3, the Death Knights were on a horse. So like I always thought it, and like also in Warcraft 2, I think some of them use staves as well to like cast death coils and shit. I always thought it'd be cool if you could actually have a class that was built like that. It's not too late either. Maybe they could do that. That'd be fun.
And we do also from necromancers.
That was part of concentrated coolness, right?
Exactly.
It's a design value that we've always had at
Well, you can see why Death Knights were so fucking overpowered, right? I mean, they've basically got 3 class ideas that they all put into one. They're like, yeah, so we want it to be a Rune Master, a Necromancer, and also a Death Knight. Comes out, it's broken as fuck. What a surprise.
As far as trying to ensure that, it comes back to not watering down the classes.
As unique as possible.
Everything's got to be as unique as possible and feel
Death
really
Knights
distinct.
certainly were unique.
And then we also need Death Knights to feel very different from the other heavy plate magical classes. They couldn't feel like paladins. Even though they're kind of anti-paladin, Arthas is a fallen paladin, they've got to have their own unique, distinct stuff.
They're just better than paladins.
One of the ways we made Death Knights really unique is we gave them their own custom starting area, where like you had been a fallen member of the Alliance or the Horde and captured in battle, and a Lich King literally turns you into a Death Knight monster against your will, and then sends you out to scourge this town. But eventually, you get turned around, and you turn on the Lich King and help fight against him, and
get your moment of redemption.
Rejoin the Alliance or the Horde as appropriate. But there's this moment where we send you back to your capital city. So you're like walking through Stormwind.
Nobody fucking likes
names. They're throwing old fruit at you. You're a murderer. You're a monster. You killed my family, but you get.
I thought this was always a really cool idea. I love this. Now, obviously, half the emotes that the NPCs shoot at you and they do at you, they got taken out of the game after the lawsuit. But there's still a few things left over.
That moment, we were going to go off and fight the Lich King and redeem yourself and make up for the things you did wrong.
It was a good idea.
Because, think about it. Like, if you had started a Death Knight character and you were just in the Alliance or in the Horde,
it'd be really weird.
It'd be really
it wouldn't
weird.
make any
no
sense.
Yeah,
why do we want him on our side?
What? Aren't we here to fight these things? Or and then even then, if you started at level 1, it would also make no sense. It wouldn't feel very deathy. And so really creating this starting experience around what the Death Knight is, and really kind of defining the story of their kind of integration into the Alliance and Horde became super important.
We had a few abilities.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool, actually, because you also started at 55, so nobody complained about having to do the starting area, because it also gave you your abilities. You would get your abilities slowly whenever you went through the starting zone. It's okay, this is Death Grip, this is Horn of Winter, I think you had that then, and Howling Blast, Obliterate, etc. It was really, really badass whenever it came out.
We knew we wanted to have at the beginning. We had announced Army of the Dead at a BlizzCon, so we knew we had an Army of the Dead ability, which kind of fits the Raised Dead Warcraft 3 ability. They got to have Death Coil, because Death Knights had Death Coil, but Warlocks already have it. That's okay. They can have their own version of Death Coil. And from there, there's a lot of, what else do we do? So we took things like Death and Decay from the boss in Mount Highjaw, and we looked at Gorfiend to see if he had anything. Sadly, Gorfiend didn't have anything too much we could borrow from him, but we started.
Gorfiend didn't really do much of anything. You just it's like the only thing that was hard about Gorfiend was that little thing that one person had to kill the spirits. That was it.
Looking at all the other places we could draw from for other ideas and inventing new stuff that we could add.
Yeah.
I remember, though, that some of the defining moments for Death Knight were very early on. There were a couple different things that we prototyped. At first, we prototyped mounted combat, where we actually made a little bit of an attempt to see if, what it would be like.
So they were going to do So they were actually going to do it. Holy shit, I didn't even know that. Oh my god, yeah, what a good idea.
If the Death Knight was riding their death steed during combat. But when we prototyped that, it was really kind of too hard to overcome some of the challenges of both making sure things animated in a way that felt right and natural with the kind of scale of things and the way that our characters sit on mounts and all that kind
It's easier to believe a humanoid turning suddenly on a dime, but the horse turning on a dime, you want them to have some physics to them, and it doesn't feel right.
and so ultimately those challenges really kind of pushed us to looking for...
Yeah, I don't really give a shit. Like, I just think it'd be cool if you could do it anyway. I mean, you could turn the horse anyway now, right? You just do it with the mouse. You spin them around real quick. So, like, I just think that'd be cool.
Or what else would be really distinctive for the Death Knight. But then also we had to think about, well, what does that mean for the resource system? For Death Knight to really kind of capture that distinctiveness, it would also help a lot for them to have their own resource system.
It ends up being a really...
Also, like, Death Knights back then, you gotta remember, like, very few classes had 2 resources. I think Death Knights were the only ones. Because back then, Death Knights had their runes, and then they also had runic power. Whereas, like, most other classes, like, you just had... I guess the only close thing that you could have to that is maybe, like, combo points and energy as a rogue. That's it.
Unique system where it's almost like you have 6 different resource bars that are all moving up in different sequencing and order.
It was
maybe
annoying
a little
to keep track of it
in retrospect.
Honestly, in Burning Crusade and before, we had very little access to gameplay engineers to build new stuff for us, so we kind of went a little wild the first time we could actually ask for new things.
One of the ideas that we had for the warrior with the chain.
This idea of a chain you pull and yank somebody to you.
So, whenever everybody was making fun of me for my idea that warriors could have a chain that they could pull people to them like a death grip, they already thought of this. Yeah, come on, guys. Come on, now could you see where I'm coming from?
Exactly.
But what if we gave that to the Death Knight instead of the warrior?
That was a bad decision.
There's Death Grip.
There's Death Grip, exactly.
But then
that was
Death
a very
Grip to
bad
pull him
decision.
to you, then created the whole foundation for how they would tank. Because Death Grip back then was also a taunt. It actually changed the way our tanks worked at that point, because then we said, well, they've got Death Grip 35-yard range. Paladin has this range taunt they can do.
Yeah.
Bears and warriors needed to
The
get...
Paladins had 2 ranged taunts they could do. They were fucking overpowered. Completely over-fucking-powered.
Actually gain range, and we moved to that hole where you could now taunt something 30 yards away, which you couldn't do in the original game or Burning Crusade.
Like once we had that foundation for Death Knight abilities between things like Death Grip, we had some things like Plague Strike, Unholy Strike, stuff like that.
There's a lot of strikes.
Yeah, there are a lot of strikes. And if you look at kind of the way that Death Knights evolved, over the course of development, you then even start to get into the playtests that we would have.
Right. Inevitably, when we did a playtest, we wanted to have a Death Knight be in the playtest. And so why not make the Death Knight be the tank? That's always what they would say. And the idea was that we didn't have enough tanks in original Classic and still didn't have enough tanks in Burning Crusade. Let's make sure that there are plenty of tanks. There's probably...
You want to know why nobody tanked in BC and Classic? Is because it wasn't fun and it sucked and you couldn't do anything except for raid. That's why it was bad. Like, everybody started tanking in Wrath because tanks could actually do good damage and it was easier to respec at that point. You had dual spec halfway through Wrath. Like, it was just way better. Like, that's why, tanking a heroic in Burning Crusade as a warrior, I don't think it's fun. Like, I don't enjoy it. It's not fun for me to have aggro and have people AoE or have everybody wait for me to get aggro on everything. It's just simply not a fun game to play. Whereas if I play Wrath of the Lich King and I play a prot paladin or a warrior, because back then warriors had crazy damage as a prot warrior. They could if you had the right gear. And DK, all of the different tanking specs were really fun in Wrath because they were actually able to do, not competitive damage, but they were able to do substantial damage.
There's still a shortage of tanks these days. It's more about personality than class. But at least make sure that's not about, can I do it? It's more about, do I want to do it?
Yeah.
Really kind of making that work and then also figuring out how they could bring DPS for people that wanted to kind of be more of a deathy Death Knight,
Right.
death-bringing Death Knight, I guess.
Murderous, rampaging,
Murderous,
Death Knight.
rampaging Death
Sure.
Machine.
Yeah.
Trying to kind of fulfill those across all three
Right.
specs at the same time.
And making them feel enough different from each other,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
The Blood, Unholy, and Frost need to play different. So Frost was the dual wieldy
Right.
spec,
Yeah.
and Unholy had
Well, back then, you got to keep in mind, you could play anything with anything. You could do Frost, Unholy, or Blood two-handed or one-handed. Like, you could do whatever the fuck you wanted. And like, people had all kinds of different strategies. Like, Frost in general, like, this is how it was at the beginning of Wrath, is like, Frost was really good at, like, being a all-around good tank. Like, it was good at tanking AoE packs, good at tanking bosses. Unholy was really good at tanking AoE packs, and Blood was really good at tanking big hits. Like, if you were doing Sartharian 3 Drake, having a Blood DK back then was a big deal, especially because they had all the magic reduction. It was massive.
more of the play.
And also, you could play each spec as DPS. Like, how many of you guys remember back whenever, like, let's say you had a DK in your guild, and the DK got Shadowmourne? Our DK played Blood DPS. It was actually insane how versatile the DKs were.
Plagues and diseases and magical stuff, and Blood was
ridiculous.
more brute force. I just kill things.
That's right. You know, you take all those different things and you put them together, and all of a sudden it's like, wait, okay, this is legitimately a hero
Right.
class. This makes a lot of
Right.
sense.
I was supposed to be in charge of balance back then. I was the balance guy.
Death Knights were really
Or
overpowered.
kind of.
Yeah, so you kind of fucked up, huh? So yeah, you just you kind of fucked up, and really kind of just, you know, let things go wild, huh? Yeah, there, that's the guy right there. Self-report.
Overpowered. Sorry. But every time I wanted to be the balance guy.
Death Knights were really overpowered.
Kind of overpowered.
Okay, good. Yeah. So yeah, they remember it. All right, good. They admit it. He knows it. Everybody fucking knows it. He's like, sorry, oops, I fucked up.
Sorry. But
Yeah.
every time I wanted to make something weaker on Death Knights, I would have all those people who love Death Knights say, no, you can't nerf it. They're fine, they're fine. In retrospect,
It's totally fine that, like, whenever you die in arena, you become a ghoul, and then if you use the ghoul explosion and it kills you and it kills your opponent, you win the game in arena. Yeah, it's so cool. I mean, it's so fun. You can't take that out of the game. If you don't have that, there's not gonna. What's it really gonna be like?
it was a
It's
good
not gonna
place
really
to
be a
'cause
DK.
It made people play Death Knights. It made people go find all those crazy
horseshit.
ways. You know, a well-designed class isn't obvious how you're supposed to play it. We want there to be emerging
Yeah,
gameplay.
exactly.
The players
There
look
was
at,
a
okay, here's
lot.
my abilities, here's my talents. How can I combine these to make something awesome?
Yeah.
We don't want to have it all dictated to them, and that's what it would have taken to make it perfectly balanced. So
Exactly.
I will say that they absolutely succeeded at that. Death Knights are the most versatile class. Wrath of the Lich King Death Knights were the most versatile class that I think we've ever had in WoW. You do anything you want. You can just do anything you want. You want to use a one-handed weapon? Okay, all right. You want a tank or DPS? You want DPS? Okay, which spec do you want to play? Okay, all right, play that. All right, yeah, you're fine. You're good. That's okay. That's it. Druids? No shot. Like, name one type of, like, off-the-wall thing that druids could do. Like, if you wanted to tank, you tanked in a very specific way. I think that Death Knights were infinitely more dynamic.
we let them play with it, and then each patch of the expansion, we had to nerf them a little bit more and a
Dream
little
State?
bit more.
Yeah,
but
maybe.
by 3.35,
That's a good point.
they were in a
Right.
good place.
Dream
For
State
sure,
was
and
interesting.
they've been strong for many, many years too. And so,
true.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
true.
it's been an awesome class, and hopefully people will get to re-experience that all over again.
Yep.
All right, well, this is awesome. I'd like to thank everybody for taking this trip down the Ebon Blade with us.
And we can't wait for you to join us in the Wrath of the Lich King Classic pre-patch, where you'll be able to create a Death Knight, get them all leveled up and ready to go with Northrend alongside your friends.
Cool. That's cool. That's great. All right. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'll play a DK or not. I mean, maybe I could level one up to 70. It's just that if I level the DK up to 70, that would require me to play a DK all the way up to 70. Like, if I could buy a boost to 68, I could probably make it to... I don't know if I can make it to 7. That's 2 levels. Holy fuck. I mean, maybe if it was rested experience. Like, I'd have to think about it. That'd be a lot. I mean... August 31st? No, it'll be tomorrow. Like, I mean, that's what it's going to be. Probably work you done 10 years ago? No, I feel like a lot of games do like remasters and re-releases. I mean, Dark Souls 1 did a re-release. Many games do re-releases, and I don't think it's a bad thing. I think, honestly, like, the reason why you're doing it can sometimes be a bad thing, but just doing it in itself is not that big of a deal. And, yeah, I don't know. I might make a DK. I really just kind of want to play Wrath as a warrior, you know? Like, that's the cool thing to me. But I cannot imagine myself leveling 2 characters. It'll take quite a while. But I'll figure it out and I'll decide it. I don't know yet. Kind of dumb they're getting rid of Dungeon Finder, like either have it or not. I think that, oh yeah, I was going to watch the video about this. What was the Preach video? Let's see if I can find it. Torghast Powers, Endgame Alpha Impressions. I might watch this. I don't know really if we're going to have time for that or not. But I was going to watch also the video about the new Wrath of the Lich King LFG system. Just get boosted. Yeah, exactly. And 50% buff. I mean, a 50% buff for leveling, I would probably come back and do it for sure. Yeah, that's what I would say. But either way, I mean, I love these videos. Like, I think they're great because it's like, I mean, Tom Chilton was the game director for WoW for like fucking ever. And so it's like kind of cool to see, you know, all the old guys getting together and, you know, not old as in like they got gray hair, but old as in like, you know, it's from back in the day. And, but I mean, honestly, like, I feel like it's like if you get excited about classic WoW, there's probably at least like a 50% chance you have gray hair. You know, like, I'm just gonna be honest, like, that's just a fact, and it is what it is. Yeah, no hair, yeah, gray hair or no hair, but it was a good time, man. And so there's a lot of people that are, you know, it's like, I remember this is what happened to me is, so me and my friend Eric, like, obviously, like, we're 32 now, and so, back in the day, we grew up playing Super Nintendo. And do you guys remember whenever they re-released Super Nintendo with like all the games on it and stuff? Not all the games, but a lot of games on it, like Nintendo did. Well, anyway, Eric wanted to go with me. He wanted me to go with him and buy the new Super Nintendo release. And whenever I went there, it was a bunch of, at the time, fucking 27 to 33-year-old men sitting out there at 7 in the morning in front of the GameStop with their wife in the car in the passenger seat, waiting for them to fucking get their game so they can go back home. Like, it was just yeah, Dad, I'm cold. Exactly. Every single one. 30-year-old boomers waiting to get the old console that they had before. I've still got mine. It's over there. It's behind me. So, GameStop time. So people still go to GameStop, right? I mean, if I'm near a GameStop, it's nice to go in and, you know, see what it's like, because I used to like, GameStop was like, of course, right? It was my favorite place to go whenever I was a kid. So I'll always go and check in and see what they've got, man. And launching at GameStop, Best Buy in the suburbs, yeah. Like, I remember my mom and I waited at GameStop. Like, we pre-ordered Wrath of the Lich King, Burning Crusade, Cataclysm, and I think Mists of Pandaria was the last one that we pre-ordered. And then after that, we had digital downloads. So we were waiting out there in the cold, in the rain. It's fucking, it's nasty outside. That's what we did, man. It was great. I still remember so clearly the Burning Crusade release night. It's weird to me because, like, that GameStop is still around, and sometimes I'll go back into that GameStop and I'll be like, man, those were some good fucking times, man. Oh my god, GameStop must be good. Everyone's buying their stocks. Yeah, true. It is just, yeah, good times. Let's see here. I gotta find the I gotta find this other video and take a look at it. I did release for Halo Reach, the last release line I ever waited in. It was weird. Yeah, I mean, like, Halo Reach, like, when was that? Like, 2000 and, like, I don't know, like 12, 13, something like that? I don't know. 2010-ish, yeah. Maybe it was 2011. Was it that early? Damn, I thought it was way after that. I feel like midnight releases, obviously they don't really do it anymore because everybody has digital download. But if you were there, it was a good fucking time, man. It was a good fucking time. And now we still have to pre-order things, even though pre-orders, there is no fucking reason for a game to have a pre-order now. Like, unless you want to get kind of a head count of people that are going to play the game to allocate server space ahead of time, yeah. But a lot of the games that have pre-orders are fucking single-player game. There's no online fucking lobbies anyway. But there's no reason. Like, the reason why GameStop, EB Games, fucking Game Crazy, all these other stores, Best Buy, used to have pre-orders was so they had a head count of how many copies they needed to stock. And, like, because you would go, remember, like, you guys would go probably whenever a game came out, day one, and it's like, oh, do you guys have any new copies of Gears of War or Halo 3 or something? Like, oh, no, we don't have any. Did you pre-order? No. Okay, well, then you're fucked. Yeah. Pre-order for Reskin Horse. Yeah, exactly. Here we go. This is a video. This is actually talking about the new Wrath of the Lich King LFG system. For you guys that didn't know, they're not doing the LFG system for Wrath of the Lich King, at least on release. I think that's probably, I don't really care that much about this. The only concern that I have is players that are playing a really unbalanced faction. Like, it's a well-populated server, but 99% of the players are one faction. So, like, if you're part of that 1% or 3% people that's like Alliance or Horde in whichever server you're on, like, your experience in the game is really bad. And LFD made that easier, so I hope they have a way for people like that to be able to, either leave that server or play with other people. Here we go.
Going into Wrath of the Lich King, Blizzard has fully moved into doing things as #some changes,
Which
and
is
frankly,
good.
they've ended up changing a lot of things in a really positive way.
I like how he didn't mouse over it, but he showed it with the body types 1 and 2. I don't know why body type 2 you can't have a bare chest. That's crazy, isn't it? Isn't that weird? There's like no option for that. I tried to look and there's none.
Death Knights in the pre-patch, cooldowns resetting after a boss encounter ends, changes to Wintergrasp to make it more accessible, and so on. And I'm all for it. If you want a different game from retail, it's got to start doing things differently. This to me points towards Blizzard wanting to take Classic long-term, not just, hey, let's do Wrath and then wrap it up. In fact, I strongly believe they will do Kata and beyond. But today,
I feel very uncertain about whether they're going to do Cataclysm or not. I think that if you looked at, like, let's say 100% of people wanted classic vanilla WoW. Like, I'd say 90% of people want classic Burning Crusade. And then maybe 85 to 80%, probably closer to 85. A lot of people have, like, really good nostalgia of Wrath, of, like, wanted Wrath of the Lich King. I feel like in Cataclysm, that 85 to 80% goes down to, like, 50. Like, I view, like, Vanilla, BC, and Wrath as, like, the original trilogy. And then after that, the game changed. So I'm not as certain as he is about them releasing classic Cataclysm. I find it unlikely. Yeah, 25%. Yeah, a lot less people want classic Cata. I feel like the nostalgia wears off after Wrath of the Lich King for a lot of people. But if they were like, okay, so after Wrath, we're going to have Mists of Pandaria, and then after Mists of Pandaria, we're going to have Legion. And people are like, what about Cataclysm or WoD? Well, what do you mean? Yeah, what do you mean? Yeah, no, yeah, so this is the release schedule, and that's just about it. Yep, problem solved.
Today we have a topic which I already know has solidly divided the community, something which it's easy to remember as a core feature of Wrath as an expansion when it didn't initially release until right near the end.
Yeah, this didn't come out until like whenever ICC was released, and it had been out for a while.
Looking for dungeon tool. Almost everything you see online has people arguing back and forth about its inclusion or lack thereof in this expansion. The forums, Reddit, I even ran a poll a while ago and more people were in favor of having this feature make a return than leaving it out. But Blizzard, thus far, has remained adamant that the LFD we once knew will not be in Wrath. I
don't think that you need LFD, I just think that you need a good group finder. Like, for example, not having it be automated, I think is probably okay. But I don't see why, like, you can't just, like, queue directly into the dungeon, because there were a lot of advantages. I think that LFD back then would teleport you to the dungeon. I'm pretty sure it did. And that was a really big bonus on its own.
And it will instead be replaced with an LFM type feature, not too dissimilar from what they have on retail. In a previous video I've said, let's see what they will do, let's see what their vision is for this new system, and then we can talk about it. Well, I've seen it, and it's time to talk about it. Let's cover everything known about the new LFM system, the good and the bad of how it currently works, and what I would have liked to see. Before we continue, a quick word from today's sponsor, Zackrawrr. Zackrawrr is a free-to-play MMORPG available on mobile and PC. Developed with Unreal.
I love how it has, like, just a random guy in a suit walking through a fucking tundra that's, like, there's, like, this guy with a scythe and he's a worm.
Dungeon 4, Zackrawrr is an industry-leading title that combines the ease of access of mobile games with the graphics you can find on PC
I don't know
in your
about
pocket. Featuring a wide open world, an innovative and diverse career system, and tons of customization options, Zackrawrr truly has something which will fit every type of player. This latest month's update in Zackrawrr is the Rainbow Route, an easy way for players trying the game to have access to some rich rewards. Zackrawrr currently features 11 different classes, from spellcasters to ninjas, warriors, and more. You can also team up with others and take on PvE encounters or PvP. The career system goes well.
What a surprise, it has PvP. I wonder if it's equalized.
Beyond what MMORPGs usually have. Not only do you have your standard ones like chef, but also bartender, or artist, or even a blogger. Zackrawrr has a huge open world to discover.
Wait, in this game you can be a blogger as a class in a video game? I mean, I guess we have, like, Goat Simulator, and, like, Farming Simulator, and Trucker Simulator. So, like, what do you do as a blogger? Like, you just, like, sit in your house all day, you go to Starbucks, and, you know, you leech their Wi-Fi because you can't afford it at home because you don't make any money? Like, I don't know.
But with endless possibilities. Jump through the world with parkour or soar above others by gliding. You can also use these codes for free in-game rewards. These will be below in the description as well as the pinned comment. You can download Zackrawrr right now on the following link and start your next adventure. Many thanks to Zackrawrr for the sponsor today. Let's talk WoW.
Absolutely
We should start with a quick reminder of what the true to last patch Dungeon Finder resembled from original Wrath.
I think that the problem with Dungeon Finder, and this is what happened in Cataclysm, is that I actually, going back, there was a few bosses that were really hard. I think the best example is, like, Ozruk in Stonecore. He was, like, the third boss after the dragon. He was really hard to beat. Like, actually, like, it was a genuinely hard boss. However, a lot of the other bosses were not hard. The Cataclysm Heroics on release were not hard. The problem was that the random Dungeon Finder put you in a group with a bunch of other dumbasses that didn't know anything, and it was really hard to do in a random group because you had to CC a few mobs and, you know, like, maybe have a little bit of planning at the beginning. So that's what the issue was. Like, I did this all the time with my guild. We never had trouble with the heroics, like, except for that one boss. That boss was a motherfucker. But besides that, it was okay. So I think the problem really is that grouping people up in a random Dungeon Finder, whenever the Dungeon Finder creates fail states at too high of a rate. Like, there was such a high rate of fail states with the Dungeon Finder in Cataclysm, that's why the dungeons got nerfed. It's the same reason why people didn't want to do Halls of Reflection or the Oculus back in Wrath, is that it just had a very high rate of fail states. That's all it comes down to.
Really simple, in fact. There are bonuses in the form of badges for random or daily dungeons. You pick your role, pick whether you want any random or specific dungeon from normal or heroic, press Q, and that is it. As a tank, you wait roughly 2 seconds, a DPS about 20 minutes, and healers somewhere in between. You pops, you press accept, you get teleported to the dungeon, and you begin. It would also search cross-server to greatly improve queue times. And then at the end of the dungeon or upon leaving, you're teleported back to where you you were originally. It really was, you push a button and you get teleported to a dungeon. Here is our new version. Let's start with the good stuff. Straight away, there's more to this than just being a dungeon finder. This tool covers all group-based activities from dungeons, raids, open world, PvP.
I will say that for high-end, like end-game players, I think like not having a dungeon finder is like kind of okay. But for like, if you're like level 47, you're realistically not going to do Maraudon unless there's a dungeon finder that queues you over there. You see what I'm saying? There's like no way you're going to go out of your way to go do Maraudon. So, I think it's better and it's good for players while they're leveling up to do the dungeons. Because I just think it's a more well-rounded, fun experience than not doing them. So if they had the group finder for like lower level dungeons, I would be totally fine with that. That's actually kind of like what we have right now in retail WoW. Is like the group finder, nobody uses the group finder for dungeons except for low level players. Because Mythic, you have to run to the dungeon. Mythic Plus, you have to run to the dungeon. Whenever you think about it, that's what everybody's doing. Like, they're probably even like casual players are probably doing Mythic 0s or Mythic 2s or 3s. So nobody's just like spamming heroics constantly. At least I feel like there's not that many of those people. And they don't even see that. So I think that I think that making it to where lower level players can use the dungeon finder is probably a good thing. And then maybe by the time that like Ulduar comes out or TOC comes out, where people have like a higher baseline of gear, maybe the random group finder would be more okay. Because that way you will have people that are better geared and you will have less fail states with the group finder. Because you just, again, you don't want to have, it feels really bad whenever you get queued into a group and everybody is undergeared and they're bad and you keep wiping. And you can't do anything about it. And Blizzard put this group together for you, and you can't kick extra people out because of the vote kick restrictions. It just sucks.
And Goldshire stuff. Each tab gives good options on all available content, including old world content such as open world PvP objectives or vanilla raids, if you ever wanted to do those for some reason. Yeah. Now, in order to post in the LFG channel, players will have to be listed on the group finder somewhere, which should significantly cut out the amount of spam that will be seen. The create listing part of the tool is fine to me. It gives enough options, and there's a text box where you can add extra bits on. It does its job. There's also good reporting options available on the UI, so you can get rid of any want to sell spam fairly easily. Side note, I'm assuming this tool becomes available at level 10 or 15. I forget exactly what it was originally, but if it's for all content, it will be available at a low level. I'm quite sure about that. On retail, they had to add a bunch of restrictions as to who can post in the LFM to stop people selling services. Then,
which is like, I think that's crazy. It's insane to me that because like the LFG, like this is a global listing or like a region-wide listing. How is it that one person per like 8 hours, right, in an 8-hour shift can't just right-click and remove the accounts that are selling things? Why can't you just hire one person and have them just click and remove that? I don't understand it.
Again, if you do need to be at least levels 10 or 15, that's an investment that has to be undertaken, and it's not like we have trial accounts in Classic either, well, at the moment at least. So it should be fine in terms of not having too much spam, but it will be on the players at the end of the day to report stuff and actually make it usable. So those, I would say, are the main benefits. Onto the parts where I think there are problems. This is related to the group browser part of the tool. You can list your class as a role you cannot do. Why is this a thing? So I understand some groups may end up running dungeons where they do 4 DPS, 1 healer once they get enough gear, or maybe even 5 DPS as DKs, who knows? And that's fine, you just advertise in the extra text.
I remember back in Wrath, like, how would you do Ramparts? 5 DKs. Maybe you get like a Paladin or something like that to heal you. But most of the time, 5 DKs.
Xbox that you're going to be doing that. But if I'm a Warlock, why can I set myself as a healer? What am I going to be creating health stones and handing out bandages? In fact, if I list myself as a role my class cannot do, it just says no roles have been filled on the UI. I don't see why this exists. When you
it seems like an obvious oversight.
Quest to join a group, it doesn't show what specialization you're playing. If you need a healer and a DPS and a shaman joins, they have to confirm that in text. Same problem when combining groups, just on a larger scale. Nothing's really known about who is joining your party. Group delistings are auto-updated on the UI, but not changes to the size of the party, i.e. people joining or leaving. Means you have to press refresh a lot. The group finder UI isn't movable or resizable. It looks the part, but finding a group will be an ongoing effort of spamming refresh. I'd want to keep it somewhere where it's taking up a bit less of the real estate of my screen. So those are the main issues for me, and aside from that, this tool really has to be better than the looking for group bulletin board add-on. If you don't consider the bulletin board add-on instantly obsolete when this tool officially releases, it's just not good enough. It should.
I don't understand why Blizzard doesn't just take what they have in retail WoW. Just do that. I feel like just take that tool and just put it in Wrath. I think that maybe they're worried about classic players getting upset that there's something from retail being put into Wrath of the Lich King. But in my opinion, I think it's just the best version of the tool that exists. And so just put that in the game.
Should be immediately and clearly an upgrade which everybody will want to use. The worst case scenario here is the player base split between using two separate sources for doing the same thing. Even using both should be considered a loss here, as the whole idea with the LFG tool is it takes spam out of the chat and into a tool where people can easily and quickly match with each other. The LFG tool in its current state is not better than the bulletin board add-on. It's a competitor to it, not strictly an upgrade. In terms of the thing bulletin board does better, it's resizable, it auto-updates when new posts come in the chat, and the UI has more customization options for appearances.
It looks better. And this is also, like, I would say this is probably even a little bit better than what they have in game. In terms of, like, how long the group's been there. Yeah, this is just, like, small quality of life features. Like, I think that, like, what should stay classic, I feel like friction that is created by, like, bad systems or, like, bad menus, that's not really classic WoW. That's just annoying. It's like there are certain things back in the day that they just didn't have the technology for. The timer's great. Yeah, I think so too. I'll be right back. I'll be back in like 2 minutes. Okay, I use the bathroom. I'll be good. Couldn't get groups on my Pally. I could always find groups. It was never an issue back in like original Wrath. Give me a sec. back. Sorry about that. We good. We good now. We good now. Let's get it.
On to the second part of the video, feature criticism. Aside from how the tool works, will it do its job? So I want to highlight a few things here. With the retail tool, 99% of the time it's being used for a specific activity. You list that you're doing a specific Mythic Plus dungeon or a specific raid. It's tailored to finding a group for one activity. In Wrath, at least early game, you want to do heroic dungeons. Literally any of them for badges. How is being saved factored into this? Are you just going to join a group and find out, oh no, I'm saved for that dungeon that you want to do, sorry guys, bye bye? Mind you, early on in new retail expansions, people do world tours of Mythic 0 for gear, and that seems to work out okay in my experience, so maybe...
I think, honestly, just queuing up and just asking somebody, are you saved? Like, I don't think that you necessarily need a lot of restrictions for this. You just ask somebody, like, are you saved to the instance? And they're like, no. Okay, all right, you zone in, that's it. Right? It's not, I don't see this as, like, really that big of a deal.
Being saved isn't a problem. What about before the end game though? Not having LFD for leveling is a real shame. There's nothing else to be said about it. Imagine hitting up the hinterlands, questing for a while and thinking, gee, I could sure go for a run in Maradon, for example. Let me just spend 30 minutes.
Well, that's the exact fucking dungeon that I said. Because that's the one that nobody ever fucking wants to go to. It's out in the middle of nowhere. There's nothing remotely close to it. There's no flight paths nearby. Even getting to the dungeon is fucking annoying. So, yeah, exactly. Just like Maradon. Perfect.
Getting there, specifically for vanilla content, the world is huge. And with XP being squished between levels 10 and 60 in TBC and 60 to 70 in Wrath, there's just not really as much need to run dungeons. In vanilla, it made sense to prepare your quest log for dungeons because there was so much experience needed to level up. Nowadays, this just isn't the case anymore. It feels like people, if they aren't already, which I think they are, will largely skip anything which is out of the way and will just do the dungeons which are really conveniently placed.
Exactly.
Stockades, Zul'Farrak, and so on. And let's be honest, nobody's going to be running to the entrance of Sunken Temple again, are they? Do you remember how...
No, there's a fucking dragon in the middle of it. Why would you go... He's right there. He's right there. Like, well, you don't want to fucking deal with that shit. I think he's an elite, too. Fuck that. So, I think there's a lot of people, again, it's that you just have to design things expecting that people are going to be lazy. Because that's the truth. That's what's going to happen. People are going to be fucking lazy.
How far you have to run to get inside that place? For vanilla, there is certainly an argument for teleporting to dungeons, or at least to the meeting stone outside of dungeons, maybe with a cooldown. For TBC and Wrath content, I think the whole traveling to dungeons is actually completely fine. Everything is in the zone where you're currently leveling. Or the
that is only so like the only exception there is Caverns of Time dungeons, but yeah,
most part anyways. When you want to do Hellfire dungeons, you're a few minutes away there. And you're leveling in Hellfire. Same for Zangarmarsh at low level 60s, Alkindun at middle level 60s, and so on. And in Wrath, there's 150% flying speed mounts, which are really cheap that you can buy from level 60. So not too many excuses on getting there yourself, I don't think. Same goes for Wrath. The dungeons are in the zone that's already appropriate for your level. And for level cap and endgame stuff, again, flying mounts, it's just not really too far. Sure, the queue system is better and more convenient, but I just don't think it's a big deal. I think the whole keeping stuff same server is also worth trying. It may not pan out long term, but let's try something different. Let's give it a go. Honestly,
I think that if they're going to keep things same server, the Blizzard devs should just be honest with themselves. If you are on a server that's like super low pop, I don't feel like you should be punished with really long queue times because Blizzard can't manage their servers. They should combine the LFG systems and stuff like that, if they do this later on, with other servers, if they're the small servers. Like big servers, no, there's no reason to need that, right? But like, let's say you're Horde on Benediction or Alliance on Faralina, you're going to have a bad time. It's a bummer. Yeah, it's just it's not a good time.
Don't think people play into community nearly as much as they used to, like not even remotely close. But repeat groups with people can happen, and it less frequently leads to toxic behavior. And if it does, hey, that person goes straight on the ignore list, and you know you're never gonna see them again.
Bro, like, see, that's like, it's weird for me because, like, you know what I used to do is, like, whenever I was level 80, I got level 80, I always just ran the heroics every day with my guild. I never even played with anybody else that wasn't in the guild. And then by the time that, like, we did Nax 10 a couple of times, well, I didn't need to do heroics anymore, really. Like, except for I was, like, a trinket that I needed as, like, a mirror of some fucking bullshit. And, like, 2 other things that I kind of needed. But, like, I probably didn't buy them so I could make the loot council feel sorrier for me. And then they'd give me the items out of the raid, right? Because I still had blues. So that's like, thinking back on my mindset back then, that's what I would probably do. So, yeah, the trinket, exactly.
Actually having to list yourself to find a dungeon, this is the bit that I don't like and I think misses the mark across the entire system. I'd be down for automatic grouping if it's same server for all areas of content, as in you list yourself for what you want to do. When the game finds 4 other people with a similar interest, you get a party assembled ready check, everybody presses yes, your group is assembled, and then you all make your way to the dungeon. Chances are you may even run multiple dungeons with these people. For vanilla content, I just don't believe dungeons will be run often due to how leveling is structured and spread out.
And I think that's bad for the game. I think that it is a better experience for new players or people leveling new characters to be able to look forward to doing certain dungeons at certain levels and getting cool gear out of those dungeons. I find that to be a good experience. So, like, in my mind, they should do that for low-level players for sure. Anything above 60, I don't really give a shit about it. But low level for sure.
I would be fine in this instance being teleported to the dungeon or at least the meeting stone. For TBC and beyond, I think the run wherever you are in the world is short enough for dungeons to be okay. There is the case where you're in Stormwind or Orgrimmar and you want to go to a dungeon in Northrend. Then again, Hearthstones are only on a 30-minute cooldown now, and if it's not up, there should be 2 other people that can go to the meeting stone. So my ideal LFG does still involve automation to assemble a group. You keep it same server, you teleport to dungeon or meeting stone for vanilla content, you run to the dungeon for TBC and Wrath content. It keeps the whole social same server thing that Blizzard want to do going. Interactions through the LFG tool are very sparse, often it's...
I don't really care that much about same server, but if it was up to me, everybody would play on the same server. There would only be one server. One server to rule them all. And there would be, like, everybody would be in the same city. It would just be, like, this massive fucking thing. Like, why? Yeah, servers, why anything else at all? Exactly. Like, that would be insane. It'd be fucking awesome. There'd be, like, because you'd have, like, at a certain point, you'd have to give people reasons to, like, go sit in Darnassus because there'd be too many people in Stormwind, right? You could have, like, different channels, too, like layers. I think that'd be fine as well. But, yeah, I think that'd be fucking badass. Like, I like the idea of, like, whenever a new game comes out or, like, something crazy happens, everybody's fucking there. That's cool.
Just going to be the leader sorting through the 452 DPS applications they've received to see which mage has the highest item level. Auto grouping is really beneficial for casual players who want to do some chill dungeons. Wrath is by far the most casual friendly World of Warcraft has been in the classic timeline so far. Absolutely. And it stops the inevitable, this will happen by the way, XYZ item is reserved, no clothies because the leader's a warlock, and so on and so forth meta. And it also does...
I don't think that's a big deal. I'll say this again. I really don't think it's a big deal. I really dislike the mindset that players have about how they want to change the rules of the game because they don't like other people playing the game in a way that they don't like. I hate that. And I think that it is reductive to the game. Reserving things and doing GDKPs, this is emergent player behavior. It's good. People should be able to make a group, make the rules with what they want. It's their group.
Doesn't stop people from
It's
being able to
common
form
sense.
groups within their own social circles or guilds if that's what they prefer. I think this is a win-win. Not only is it better than what the LFG is currently in Classic, it's better than what we had in Wrath as well. This would overhaul the whole system though, so I don't expect it to happen. But at least I also included some feedback for how the current
sure they'll
tool
probably
works
improve
as
it.
well. Hopefully that can be looked at before we launch late September. That's about everything for today though. It's quite a divisive topic, so we'll see how this goes. I'm expecting a lot of comments on this one. Do let me know your thoughts though.
I feel like it doesn't, like, I mean, like, these kinds of things matter to me a little bit, but, like, honestly, like, I played Wrath back in the day, man. I just want to play the game again. Like, I don't, bro, like, all these, like, granular, like, fucking, like, it's like, how many specks of sand are there? Is there 11 or 12? Like, I don't really give a shit. I just want to play Wrath again because it's fun. And, like, whatever the group finder is, it is what it is, and that's it. I don't want to have, like, to me, it's like, I don't need endless discussions about it. Like, I'll watch videos and, like, see what's going on. Sure, yeah, whatever. But, like, at the end of the day, I don't really give a fuck. I just want to play Wrath.
Any feedback, I think, is a positive thing.
That's it.
As always, guys, thank you all so much for watching and listening in, and I'll see you all in the next one very soon.
Yeah, I really hope that they're able to figure it out. I do have a pretty strong opinion, however, on making it to where low-level players can use the group finder. I feel like that is very important to have. Endless amount of moment ready to play with you. Well, I mean, I've kind of always felt that way. I mean, if you're like, oh well, you people only play with you, you want to play with people. Here's the thing. Anybody who's actually good at World of Warcraft knows this. If you're good at the game and you're playing with, like, some group or whatever, let me go back to it real quick. This is another video I was watching.
Going into
You're gonna get people that want to play with you. If you're a mage and you top DPS every fucking run, you're gonna get people that want to make a group around you. It's the same as being a warrior that's, like, does a lot of damage, or, like, a really good tank, etc. So just get good at the game and you're not going to have a problem. Or join a guild or something like that. I don't think that's really outside of the question either. Yeah, exactly. Heals happens a lot. Yeah, like, I would, bro, like, how many of you guys, like, added a tank or added a healer onto your friends list after you did a group with them? Like, bro, like, you should come back, like, and let's do more stuff together, man. That's the way I see it. And being a healer gets you a free pass everywhere. Yeah, it's like, so if you don't like that, just play a spec that's more useful. And like, people always complain about that shit. They're like, well, I don't want to play this spec. It's like, yeah, you shouldn't really have to, but if you don't do that, it's going to take longer because there's more people that want to play this other spec. It's just common sense. I think that gets a lot better in Wrath though. You're going to have a lot more people playing tanks. You're going to have a lot more people that are willing to tank, because tank was really the limiting variable. Healers were, you would have healers relatively often. And so I think it'll improve quite a bit. And Shami had a healer friend. We'd get each other into pugs. Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, you'd have a friend. It's like your friend got into, like, an ICC. It's like, bro, can you get me in? Right? Like, that's always how it was going to go. And so I feel like people need to remember that. And also, like, the system doesn't really matter for somebody who is in a guild of people that play together regularly. And that's what I did back in original Wrath. It was fucking amazing. And hopefully that's what's going to happen in Classic Wrath too. But I do think conversations like this are important. However, in terms of, like, end game, I don't really care what they do, because I'll probably just play with friends of mine or whatever, and or people in my guild. And I think that's what I would recommend anybody else to do as well. But I do feel strongly that they should have a random dungeon finder for low-level players, people that are under level 60 and under. And so that's generally the way that I feel about it. Have you seen this month's AOC stream? Yes, I did see it. I saw that Narc made a new video about it. I will probably look at it soon. I'm not going to look at it today, but I will look at it soon. And so I'm afraid. I had so much fun. Original Wrath of the Lich King. Community was so great that I was in. And let's see here. And what are people's comments? That it'll take longer to find a group than actually running the dungeon. And yeah, this is obviously kind of like a bad thing, that it takes longer to organize something than it does to do it. I would absolutely say this is a bad thing. I'm in favor of auto invite too, because you said dealing with DPS applications are going to be a headache. XYZ item is reserved, no quantities because the leader's a warlock. Already happens with auto invite, just means unwanted people get kicked instead of ignored. That's actually true. We would do that very regularly. We actually did that with the bear mount in Cataclysm, is that we would actually do bear runs with 3 people. It would be 4 of us, right? And it'd be like 3 carries, the buyer, and then we'd random queue the 5th person. And then after we used them to clear the raid and get to the bear, and not raid, dungeons, 5-man, we'd vote kick them out while the NPC was running around breaking the pots to open the bear mount. And we'd save money that way because we had to split it less ways. One time, somebody, like, we kicked the guy out of there, and he messaged me. He's like, bro, did you really just kick me before the bear? And I'm like, yeah, we did, because we wanted to get the money for ourselves. And he's like, bro, that's really fucking smart. Damn. Like, you guys, so like, because I've been trying to get the bear, I thought I was gonna get it. And I'm like, yeah, I kind of like this guy. All right, we'll give him, and we just gave him a free run after that. We're like, I kind of like this guy, even though we just kicked you out. It's like, you want us to go get you a bear too? He's like, yeah, sure. And then we just went back and did it again. That's evil? Yeah, it's just... Bro, we did whatever we needed to do. And, yeah, and then... So we went with 4, and then we kicked... And then I'm like, okay, bro, this is where you kick them out. And then we had him kick out the next guy. So, like, you begin the cycle all over again. He's like, wow, that was really fun. I'm like, yeah, welcome to the dark side. And that was it. It was a different time, yeah. I had a lot of fun back in Cataclysm. As I said, this real story of Asmongold for Cataclysm is absolutely going to be a villain arc. You guys will see. And I really acknowledge it. Yeah, it was whatever. And anyway, yeah, I look forward to the game being out and be able to play it and everything. It'll be great. Yeah, log on TBC. I mean, there's nothing really to do on TBC. Like, I don't really care. I mean, the only gear that you can get that really matters is, like, Sunwell gear. I'm not going to do Sunwell. It's just not going to happen. I'll probably just goof around and then level up in Wrath. Like, I mean, my plans are to do exactly what I did in Burning Crusade and Wrath of the Lich King. Do Sunwell for content? Why? It's just going to be people that do them. It's just going to be like one person who runs on top of somebody else with Meteor Strike, or not Meteor Strike, a fucking Fellfire, whatever it is, on Brutalis. And then, oh, somebody stood in a raid with Conflag on Twin Eridar. Oh, great. Okay, now we've got to spend 30 more minutes doing this. I don't want to do that. Like, it's not fun for me. Like, I don't want to have my time wasted because somebody's too stupid to read their debuffs. I'm sorry. I don't know what happened with me, but, like, there was, like, a switch that flipped in my head one day where I realized how much time I was wasting because somebody can't move left. And I said, fuck it. Never again. That's what it was. No add-ons telling you have the debuff. Oh, people just try to do more damage. That's all there was to it. And, yeah, 7 hours of Gruul probably flipped the switch. Well, that's content. Like, I will sit around. I will wipe for 12 hours if people think it's funny to watch. Like, I don't care. It's entertainment, right? But if I'm doing this for my own personal enjoyment, no. Not enjoying it. Not enjoying it unless the audience is enjoying it. That's about it. PoE isn't time wasting. Well, whenever I die, and I mean, that's the reason why I logged off today, is I died. I'm just like, fuck this. I don't want to do this anymore. That's what it is. I had 53 Gruuls for DST on my warrior. Only once. Everyone stacked on the bros. Yeah, I mean, there's every once in a while there's dumb people. And there was a raid with Cody. That was a bad raid. I'll give you that. I think it was New World because if you died, all the gear in your bags would get damaged too. Yeah, maybe that was a factor as well. And I want to see another Gruul's Lair. Well, we will do all the raids. We will do all the raids at the beginning. And the plan is, so whenever Wrath comes out, it'll probably be me and McConnell, maybe some other people leveling up, same as we did in BC. And we're going to get to level 80, and we're going to do Nax, and we're just going to reserve all the loot. Like, we're going to reserve everything. We're going to reserve every piece of gear in the raid. Now, if we can't use it, we'll give it to some. We'll roll it off, sure. And but besides that, yeah, that's about it. We run ZA today, get you the bear mount or what, dude? No, I have no interest. I have the bear mount. I have no interest in reclaiming past glories. I already have them. I have the memories. I don't need to do this again. I beat the game. That's the way I see it, man. Yeah, I fucking beat the game. Like, I beat the game back then, and I'm going to beat it again. The way I'm going to treat, as I said, the way I'm going to treat Wrath of the Lich King is like a fucking kid that comes in to his high school a year after he graduated. He's going in with sunglasses on. He's living a free fucking life. He's wearing a hat. The rules are you can't wear a hat. But he's wearing a fucking hat. Why is that? Because he fucking graduated. He owns this bitch now, and he's just here for his transcript. He's going to get that, then he's going to drive over to McDonald's and do whatever the fuck he wants. That's what I'm going to do with Wrath of the Lich King. I'm there for my fucking victory lap. That's all it is, man. Oh, will you stream Wrath on your main channel? I plan on it, yes. Absolutely. And so, yeah, that's pretty much where it's at. I'll probably watch some more videos soon, but I have to do the my meeting for today. I might log on a little bit later on. I haven't really decided, but I did want to watch these two because I know Wrath is coming out tomorrow, and I might make a DK or something like that too. So I'll see you guys later, and I will be back very, very soon, or I'll be back tomorrow. I'm not sure yet, but we will see. And please review Diablo 3 latest patch. Yeah, tomorrow. Well, either way, right? I don't know what I'm going to do. I might just do some gaming later on. And so anyway, gentlemen, I'll be back. Or not tomorrow. I'll see y'all later. Peace.